Welcome back, everyone. We have two fantastic guests with us today, and I would like them to take the opportunity to introduce themselves.
Hi, Dawn and Joe and Jaco. My name is John Koopman. I'm actor, comedian, and now a small business owner as well. Yeah, husband and father.
Hi, I'm Jaco Viljoen. I'm also married, John, so well done for that. Not to the same wife though.
And, that'll be awkward.
It will be. Yeah, and then I've got 4 children, and I'm a director of a non-profit called Salt and Light Kids.
Okay, I think, Jaco, that's exactly why we decided to have you here with us today.
I was wondering.
Yeah. It's not for your jokes, though.
Okay, I'll keep them smaller. Yeah.
John's here for the jokes.
Okay.
I would like to know, you've spoken about Salt and Light.
Yeah.
Why Salt and Light? Where does that name come from, and what do you do there?
Salt and Light obviously is a Bible verse in Matthew 5. It talks about we need to be the salt and the light. So when we started the non-profit, we were just focusing on children evangelism, just children just hearing the gospel again, and obviously just doing it in a setup where all churches coming together can do it. So it's not just bound to one church or one denomination. So we've got the privilege of doing it in school time. En ons doen dit met gedurende skooltyd met al die kinders en die ouens wat nie dieselfde geloof is nie. Hulle word eenkant half na gekyk deur die onderwysers. En ja, dis net om daai waardes en moreles terug te bring en daai lei na leierskap binne kan kinders sodat mense dit kan uitroep.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Jaco. And just thinking of the time we are in now, it is the month of June, and we know in June we celebrate our fathers and we celebrate the youth. And if we just have to think about what is the context that we find ourselves in, looking specifically at youth, we'll see stats like 62.4% of our youngsters are unemployed, and that is between the ages of 15 to 24. And the estimate is that 4 out of 10 students that start grade 1 drop out before they reach grade 12. So Jaco, I want to throw this out at you. I mean, I know it's a bit of a gloomy picture, and John, we will get to you now. What actual tools can we give young people so that they do not fall into, that I am the victim, or that they do not become one of the stats that I've just mentioned?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the major thing that we try to focus on, obviously, is just bringing them back to who they are. So we call that obviously identity.
Yeah.
And the only place that you can really know who you are is to go back to who created you. So obviously from a Christian perspective, that's how we look at it at Salt and Light. And obviously it's finding our identity in Christ. And that's not just knowing it, but also experiencing it in your emotions, and obviously touching that in your spirit as well. So it's like a body, soul, spirit kind of thing that you need to have. Sometimes we know about a topic, but we don't experience the topic, and then there's like a disconnect between the two.
Yeah.
So with that identity, I think that the connection between us and God is quite important aspect in that as well.
Okay. John.
Yes, Dawn.
I would like to know a little bit about John, the small boy. John growing up. How was your life? What did it look like? And just share with us.
Yeah, Dawn, thank you for taking me back to Derenstraat. I love it. I miss it dearly. The Springbok Sevens coach is from Derenstraat.
Which one?
I did not know that.
Renfred Diesel.
Okay.
So there is opposite Renfred Diesel lives another young man, not a young man anymore, but he used to play Western Province rugby. In that very same yard Renfred Diesel grew up in, there's another young rugby player who played for the Stormers for quite a bit, or a little bit. So in Derenstraat, that's why we say Derenstraat. This is just something about Derenstraat.
Come on.
That something that people that come out of that street, it nurtures greatness, we say. So I'm from that area.
Would you say it also nurtures resilience?
Ooh, definitely. Because if you look at Renfred Dazel's character right now, the father he is, the man he is. Have you ever seen a story of Renfred Dazel in the tabloids? You would never, because that's not the type of person that he is. So it brings out resilience. Curtly Arendts is 4 streets away from where we grew up, what resilience he shows is impeccable. So I think if you take me back to Derenstraat, you're taking me back to tough times, we sport for us as children were mostly, I didn't want to go home because my grandfather was a gangster. My grandmother, so I wasn't raised by my dad and my mother.
Okay.
So my grandmother raised me, and my grandfather, kind of when he was never around. So with him being out on the streets, being a gangster, I remember, also make a joke of that in one of my shows, where he takes me to a smoky on his neck. I was still a small boy, but I can remember it vividly. He bought me a packet of knickknacks and a stokkie liquor. Don't tell your grandmother at home when we get home that we were here first, because he was supposed to cut my hair that day, but he first went to smoke a button, and he got so high that day he didn't even recognize me. Almost he thought I was a Tokaloshi. That's one of the jokes I make when he came from that being high. And guess what, my hair I think wasn't cut properly either. When I got home. So he got into trouble, but that's how I was raised. So sport for us, arts and culture, what I got involved with at a young boy at that age was an outlet. It was a place where I found my identity. My brother, who is still on drugs, who is still in and out of prison, found it in the other stuff. So we coming from the same background, but there's 2 different uptakes on life. So, yeah, you taking me back, though?
So, listen here, John. I mean, we've had this conversation before, and I want to know that, was there a time where you reconciled with your dad? And can you then sort of assess John as in pre that time and then after that time?
Definitely.
What was the identity different after then?
So when God came into my life as a young boy, that is when everything changed, because I went to go play rugby, and then I played with Burton Francis, who also played Lions rugby. He played professional rugby for a long time. And his dad was always on the field. Next to him when he played, his dad was there supporting him, and other kids' dads were there as well, and I always wanted that. I never had my father next to the field when I played the game, and it did something to me and my confidence. And I'm sorry to share this now, my oppa, he changed. But back, I remember I had a very great game, was man of the match, scored a try, played wing, came home, told my grandfather about my great game I just played, and he said, he didn't say anything, but these were his words to me, sy speel verkeerde posisie. So,
and you were man of the match?
Man of the match. I played, because he played scrum half, and he wanted me to play scrum half, and he thought that was the better position for me. So he just said, sy speel verkeerde posisie, gaan man. Like, he just brushed it off. So confidence was never instilled in me from a young boy's age. How it changed, to answer your second part of your question, was I met Jesus, God-given confidence. Everything changed inside of me. When I started going to church, started reading the Bible, scriptures just spoke to me and made me find value with inside of myself in God, my God identity, not this man-made identity. And then it became easier to deal with the fact that I do not have a father. On one particular Father's Day, a friend of mine spoke a beautiful message. Shane, he led me to Jesus. at church, I listened, and after that message, I was so convicted to just forgive my dad, because I blamed him for not being there, for not being a part of my life as a young boy. So I had to forgive him for blaming him, and I called him names. I once went to his house, threw all his car windows out because he didn't want to give me money. So I had to go back and say, listen, Dad, I'm sorry, forgive me. I love you. You've never been the father I wanted, but let's start this relationship now. And then after that, it was amazing. Before I lost him 2 years ago now, I think. Yeah. So we really had a relationship after that. It was slow. It's a slow start, slow build up. But just imagine if you're a father, your adult son with 2 kids is coming to you now to say, listen, I'm sorry. We were in tears. We were crying, both of us.
That's so beautiful.
What a beautiful testimony.
And John, I'm listening to your story, and I'm trying to think about how does it impact me, because I have a very different experience. I think just from the moment I opened my eyes, my dad was always there, and my dad is a very present figure and dad in my life. There's certain things I cannot do if I didn't, talk about it with my dad or get advice from my dad. And that's also creeping into my marriage now. So I'm like, let me just ask my dad quickly, let me just double check. But for me, that's just been my experience. And Jaco, I'd like to know, how has your experience been? Like, I'm speaking about my childhood experience, but as a dad. What is your experience of being a dad?
As being a dad?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's quite interesting because I didn't have a great example of a father. So I had to go and learn how to be a father. It sounds interesting. I think sometimes our society's got the same problem with that example that we are trying to live off. It wasn't a great example. So how are we going to do it? How will I be a father? So for me, sorry, I'm touching my mic. So for me, it's a lifelong adventure of becoming a father. So how do I see that? I see this as quite an important thing because first of all, I need to understand and know as a father that I'm speaking identity. That's what John was looking for. He was looking for a father next to the field, calling out identity. If his mother was next to the field, or anybody's mother next to the field, and screaming, "Go John," he would not have played the same role as the father screaming, "Go John," or whatever. So that obviously is quite a big thing that I need to understand. So my responsibility. So what tools am I carrying? If I come to my little boy and I try to nurture him, he'll take it. But his mom is a nurturer. Yeah. So I need to understand my role as a father. So identity giver is the one, protector is another one, and also then a provider. And it's not just in the body. I can't just provide, money and clothing, and obviously toys is quite big where we are now. But also in the emotional side, I need to be able to give identity, and I need to be able to provide, and I need to kind of protect that. And sometimes we miss that as fathers because you'll experience what John has just said now. He's spirit together, just kind of wave off because it's not what I want for you. But sometimes, it takes us to go and heal those kind of things. Yeah. But I need to understand as a father, what is my role and how do I have to portray that out because it wasn't given to me and I will struggle to give it up. So I think that is I hope I'm answering your question in this, but that is important to understand, first of all, what is my role as a father to be able to play it out.
I think what we've touched on is that fathers play a crucial role in society. Yeah. And many times, specifically in our underprivileged communities, there is no father figure. So what happens is the kids look up to what they think success looks like. Yeah. In their world, success is the merchant who's selling the drugs because he's the one with the big car, he's the one that can buy things, he's the one who gets the girls, and that is why they look up to that person because that is what they think success looks like. So I would like to say, I think we need more men like you, godly men, that can take up that role in society to say, instead of that person being your role model, I would like to be your role model.
I want to latch on to that, and I actually want to throw it out on the table. Do you think maybe this is the reason why we are sitting in the state we're sitting with now, is because there's not a father going to a young person saying, listen here, I know you don't have a father. I know you don't have the mentorship and the guidance and the support, but I'm here and I'll help you and I'll guide you and we can rise above this. Do you think we are where we are at because that is not happening?
I think sometimes if you are really honest, because we need to be honest on the table.
Yes.
If you're really honest and you think about a colored father living right now in Derenstraat, where I'm from, seeing across the street this boy doesn't have a father who's living in the house across the street, can't really feed that child because he can't really look after his own situation that he has going in his house. So sometimes I feel like it's difficult for those communities to kind of do that. But the great thing about that community is it doesn't have to be the guy across the street. Because where I'm from, literally I went yesterday to my mom's house, and the neighbor's boy was eating lunch or supper. I was that kid as well, sitting in someone else's house eating supper or dinner, whatever, that lived a couple of houses from me. Then the other night I'm there, and you know, so what the great thing about that area where I'm from is that everybody was family at the end of the day. So it was really like a village raising its other's kids. And before I got home, I got a hiding for something I did, not by my own parents.
By the auntie down the road.
By the auntie down the road. She already hit me because yesterday I didn't greet when I was walking out up the road to school. So it is kind of difficult
but
to have that.
It doesn't only have to be financial support.
Yeah.
You can affirm someone else.
True.
So that young girl doesn't feel like I'm just hearing this other guy is telling me beautiful, but no other man is telling me. So I only believe it because he said it now. You know, I'm pregnant, and you know that story.
Yeah.
But it can also be an affirming mentor.
I hear you. Yes, I think men should just be bold enough to say, you know what, this guy doesn't have, I want to. And I think that's the step I took because someone else did it for me when I was younger. Shane Philander, he was one of those guys. And Jerome Friedrichs, Dr. Jerome now, he was one of those guys who said, listen, Trevina Smith, he's one of those guys for me, that said, they're going to walk a road with me because I didn't have a dad. They were older, but not old like father figures, like more older brother. I think Jerome might fall in a father figure vibe, but he didn't want to be because he was young at the time, you know. So I had those kind of roles in my life, and I think role players, and I think in our community we do have those role players. They are there. They are there. I don't know if they are just not willing to put their hands up to say I want to. But no kid is gonna knock on someone else's door to say, I'm looking for a mentor, I'm looking for a dad.
Yeah, no,
it's never gonna happen.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what started in the living room.
So I started the youth group because of those three key players in my life when I was younger. Jerome had a youth group that I attended, Shane had a home cell I attended, and Trevino was this musician that I just admired. So, you know, I started because I wanted kids in the community, kids from everywhere, to not waste their talent. I just spoke to my pastor before this and I say, it hurts me inside. I cry when I see someone has talent or a gift and they can't use it because they fall into drugs or into gangsterism or make the wrong choices, end up pregnant And their lives is a little bit ruined for a while until they realize they can make the change. You know, it's never too late to make the change. But I hate seeing that. It breaks my heart every time it happens to somebody. So I just want to create an environment. So I started this youth group in my house in March of this year, and we started with 4 kids. And it's now 20 kids 3 months later. It is hosted at CRC Church, 15 years from the Rebecca and Paul. And we just there for the kids. We had a question now on Friday where we asked him, should we do a holiday? No, we're gonna come on Friday. So they don't want to break up for holidays. They want to still meet together on Friday. I'm like, what are we doing? We don't do anything special. We just run a Bible, like a study the pastor preached on a Sunday. He breaks it down into questions and a studying form where people can interact with the word. And that's all we do.
You're not doing anything special. You're doing everything special. That's what you're doing. That is what you're doing. And I think it shows the fact that you grew from 4 to 20 in 2 months shows that the need is there. The kids are looking for something other than what the world outside can give them. And I think it's our responsibility to actually put that on the table for them.
See, people want to belong. Yes. They want to feel connected somewhere.
Yes.
And that's why if I can connect with the drug dealer, then I'll connect with him. You know, if I can connect with alcoholism or pornography, I'll connect and I'll feel confident in that way. And I think that's the problem that we've got. So well done for what you do. I think it's amazing. Just loving on people, just being yourself, just doing life together. I think that's amazing. And that's the mentoring. Even though no one knocked on your door, that's the mentoring that is being done. I think the challenge is, to come back to your question, I think a lot of men out there don't see themselves as fit enough to be able to do it. You know, not in carrying 50 kilograms of weight, but being manly enough, you know, because you know, I don't have the tools. Maybe I'm not shaped in the best way, but if you see my father, you will see how great, you know, I am, because I'm much better than him. What I'm meaning by that is that the example that we had a lot of times was not great. And sometimes even in different cultures, when we're talking, you know, even in the white culture, you have the father that will be working the whole day, and he'll be on business trips, and you won't see them.
Yes.
So there's also fatherlessness happening there. Even if there's money, there's no emotional connection, or sometimes there's money. But I think that the problem is here is that there's single parent homes as well, coming out of divorce, coming out of whatever, the father passing away. And the mother having to pick up both those roles. And that's a lot of times the biggest problem that we have, is the divorce rate that's big, and the separation that's big, or people not even getting married and just having children. And the mother having to pick up the father's role. And sometimes we say this, you know, I've got father issues, but I think the mother issue is sometimes the bigger thing, because the mother's trying to portray both roles. She's trying to be the father, and she's trying to be the mother. And sometimes that's what I need as a young man or a young boy. I need that nurturing. I need that comforting. I need someone just to teach me the basic stuff. That gets dropped away because she's needing to provide. She's needing to protect. She's picking up the father's role. And that's why I think we really need godly families. It's not, the world needs a father, yes, but we need mothers as well. But we need each one taking up their role. And I think that's what God wanted. He wanted male and female, you know, complementing one another. It's not just, you know, the man is the head of the home. It's like both of them are pulling together, because the man cannot do what the woman is doing, and the woman cannot do what the man is doing. Even though I know there's t-shirts that say it differently, but the idea is that we need one another. When we see that we can pick up those different roles and say, listen, I can do this great, I can give identity great, let me give that a go. And you can nurture well, so nurture well, because as a man, I won't be able to do that. And I think if we can slowly but surely pick that up, our communities will start differing. It doesn't matter what culture we're in, it's going to differ. And I think that's why we're talking about, you know, a world needs a father, but we need great mothers as well, playing the motherly role well. And they can only do that if we have fathers standing up.
Jaco, you said something interesting that made me think back. So, nobody taught me how to shave. Nobody taught me how to do the basic,
Manly stuff.
manly things.
Yeah.
So I think if you are listening to this podcast right now and what you just mentioned, and you think I'm not man enough to teach someone else something about being a father or being a man, start by just thinking about, you can teach him how to shave.
Yeah.
How to
tie a tie.
exactly. I
How
just
to
want
pick up
to.
a bail.
Also weird ties, he's like.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
The boys wear in school.
You do. How to
you
cup a bail, how to make a fire,
Yes.
how to work a spanner, how to use a drill.
That's okay.
Because I had someone who I employed at the coffee shop when I had a coffee shop in 2020. And when he started, he couldn't, because you need to use a spanner to fix something there on the plumbing, and he couldn't do that. And he couldn't use a spanner. He couldn't do this with the spanner, when it closes up.
Shifting, yeah.
A shifting. I couldn't believe it. So he comes from NP school, so I would think, this bra would know, man. But he didn't know, the bra didn't know. And I'm like, we are raising kids that doesn't know how to do basic things as men, as boys. So I think there you have it. If you are listening to this thinking, I'm not good enough to do anything, yes you are, because you can literally just teach a bra to work a spanner. You have skills, you're sitting in a job. If you can teach somebody to do something like that, that boy, he's sitting in Qatar now, making coffee. He didn't know anything. He's fresh out of school. I taught him a basic skill how to make coffee.
And he can work a spanner as well.
And how he can do that?
I'm so sure.
He can now show other boys to work a spanner.
Did you show him?
Yeah, of course.
After so much valuable conversation and rich stories, I think it is very clear that fathership, mentorship is important no matter how big, no matter how small. I always say the small things are the big things. And John, we touched a lot about, just passing on, transferring the skill, transferring how to tie a tie. Do we say that?
Yeah.
Fold a tie, to tie a tie, transferring that skill. But I know you have a daughter,
Yes.
and Jaco also has a daughter.
I've got
So
two of them.
you've got two daughters. So, not neglecting that girls need that too. Dawn and I spoke to that point. But do you find that's an interesting area to be? Is it different to father-son and to father-daughter? And I know you're going to say yes.
Yeah.
But very briefly to just, talk about that.
Am I going first? She looks at me like, you should go first. I'm going. Really. Yes, it is. I love my daughter. It's kind of different because she's like me.
And she's your princess.
She doesn't want to be a princess, like a princess. She's like me.
She's a warrior.
Yeah, she's like a warrior princess. She's like
Fantastic.
fierce. She's just like grabbing life like, yes, I want to live it. Where's more? Yes, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm going for it. So she has that in her and I love it. But now I need a mother to show me how to tie hair. To make a pom-pom and to make a lint, because I don't know how to do that. So we need mothers also to show us like, when my wife leaves early for work and that child is there, I need to still make her hair right
It's
for school.
Have you seen that when they use a vacuum cleaner?
I saw that pom-pom.
Have you seen that?
I saw that trickers.
Yeah. I think that's something to
Oh,
put
so-
that vacuum on the pipe
And then just,
pop it, yeah.
that's a
Make it
very
happen.
quick and easy way. But I'm glad that you are even attempting to go in that space.
I
Because
don't want Joe. I
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
really.
You must make a video for us. I would love to see it.
But Jaco, what's your experience being a girl dad as well?
Yeah, it's different. Boys and girls are really different.
Yeah.
There's like a big divide. It's not bad and good. It's just girls are very emotional. And I'm generalizing, but I've got two of them. So they are emotionally, I don't want to call it draining, but obviously when you work with girls, there's a lot of emotion going in.
Yes.
And when you're raising boys, there's a lot of physicality going in. There's a lot of wrestling and fighting
Practical.
and guns come out and army men and camouflage, and the girls there's like you've got tutus and crowns and drinking tea. There's a different touch to it, And you have, and that's part of the identity, and part of the father calling that identity out. And I think it's so brilliant for us to be able to do the small things. And we talked about the small things and focus on that. Maybe even just one small thing a day. Drinking tea on a Monday or a Tuesday, or even if you come home late, just spend that time together and speaking identity. Children need that. So boys and girls are definitely different. But then I've also got one of my daughters are sometimes a little bit more rough than the other one, but in each one are different. That's what I'm trying to say. And just to meet them where they're at, and call that out where you want them to be. And I think it's beautiful that what you're saying, just identifying who she is and just calling that out.
Yes, sorry, Joe. I just want to say, yes, I do think it's very important for dads to spend time with their daughters, even if it's doing things that you don't necessarily like, but your daughter loves.
You know what I did? I dated my girls when they were young. And you know that stuff? You're walking into a restaurant with your daughter and going, sitting her down, but treating her like you need to be treated.
Yes.
And then when she gets older and you don't see her being treated like that, you kind of refer back to that. Remember that? I don't see this guy doing that to you. And it's not opening the door for you. And that's like, so that's interesting, to do those kind of things. And it's a small thing, Even if you go to McDonald's, if you don't, do one of the big fancy restaurants, just go and sit there, dress her nicely, and just go sit her down and treat her like a princess.
Yeah. That's exactly what my dad did, Jaco, and that's why I couldn't.
That's all.
I could not settle for anything less because my dad would take me out on a date. My dad opens the door for me. My dad speaks to me in a certain way that I feel respected and I feel loved and I feel beautiful. So for me, when it was my time to enter into the dating world, and I mean, I know you make a couple of mistakes here and there, but as a woman, you know that. But this is the standard that has been set, and I've already been treated like this, so why would I deviate?
You're saying an interesting thing. It's like when you go into the dating world. I mean, that's 14, 15, maybe sometimes younger. But dads, just stay close, man. Don't really wegraak nie, It's so easy when they start doing all the girly things and the women things that you kind of want to hands off. But that's when you have to be close.
Yeah.
Gee daai drukkies.
Yes.
Do it.
Put the arm around,
Yeah.
And just loving them. And that's not sometimes because again the emotional side sometimes get rough. But just when it's safe, go close and give a hug.
It's needed.
Even if they slam the door, it's fine.
Yes. So I think we've established that the father's role in society, the father's role in the household is an important role. Walking the walk together with the mother, if there is a mother, and also if there is a father available in the house. I want to actually say, as a single, or I want to put it out there for the single mothers. I want to say, if you are a single mom, and you have a boy or a girl that you struggle with, you as an adult go knock on a door and ask for help. I know my husband. If my neighbor should knock on my door and say, listen here, I just need your husband to have a talk to this child. I just need him to have an ear to listen to what this child is saying. I'm sure he's going to put up his hand. But also in the society that we live in, I think many men also feels it is not safe for them to put up their hands. Because so many times men put up their hands in innocence and then be portrayed as a predator, which might not even be the case. It might be all innocent, wanting to help. So I'd say if you're a single mom, ask for help. And I'd say if you're a dad out there, be the best dad that you can be. Be the absolute best dad that you can be. And I want to ask our guests to also just look into that camera and just tell the youth what you want to tell them. Tell the dads out there what you want to tell them.
I think I'm going first this time. Yeah, I think for me is it starts all off with the identity giver. You need to start with your faith. Who gives you as a father your identity? And sometimes some of us have not received that identity even. You might be 40, you might be 30, you might be 50, 60 years old, and you might not have walked in that identity. So it starts with finding out what your identity is for yourself. And then making sure that you are able to call it out in the children that you are growing, and making sure that you've got the best for them. Because it comes with a price. To be a parent, it costs you something. And the Christian people like to talk about you need to die to yourself. And I think that's why you need to be Christians, to actually die to yourself. Not that Jesus must just make you better. You must actually die to yourself so that He can live through you. And when you die to yourself, it's not about you. It's like when you're raising children, it's not necessarily about you. It's about raising them. And I think that's where the concept kind of changes for me. So your faith is quite important, to understand your identity through Him, and to understand your role as a father, as identity giver, protector, and provider, and making sure that you are the best in that. Not trying to do the nurturing, not trying to do being the teacher or the helper, but making sure you do the father stuff. Yeah, and do the best you can.
Okay, so I'm gonna look into that camera, another camera. From my side, I still feel like, if I'm honest, every single day that am I doing it right? That is where I'm at as a father. I've been a father now for almost 11 years. I have 2 kids. And every day I'm still, even this morning when I took my kids to school, I asked myself when I dropped them, I'm wondering if I'm doing it right. If they, if they one day will be able to sit at a round table or long table and speak good things about me. But what I certainly want to do is make sure that they have good character. I think it's important for them to have good character, and from my side, it's just respecting women, men, the rules of society, because it's there for a reason. That is the one thing that's important to me. I told my son the other day, I don't care about your grades, but I care about what the man, if someone comes to me and says, jou kind het aan my so mooi gegroet, nou het baie mooi maniere. I care more about that than whether he passes a grade now or gets an A or B or whatever. So character to me is very important. So if I can make sure that he has good character, I'm sure he will figure his way out in life and navigate through every decision that he needs to make one day to become who he needs to be. Because ultimately, that is what we are trying to do as fathers. We are trying to raise men and women that can stand one day as men and women to make their own choices in life. And I think what society is doing is, especially now, we are coddling our kids. Someone asked me the interesting question the other day, when last have you seen a kid in a cast? Because we are just trying to protect them from not falling, from not getting hurt this whole time. We're trying to say, listen, hoekom het jy aan my kind gedrop uit die aaspan uit? Hy's aan so 'n goeie yeah, it's gonna happen, So we are trying our utmost to make sure our kids get the best and do the best, but are trying to make sure they build good character. So for me, I think that character aspect of things are very important. And then be solidified in your role as a dad. Know who you are in Christ. Know who you are.
Yeah,
because kids don't learn what we teach, they catch. What we
do.
What we are living, catch what we do.
Yeah.
So if we show them what we are doing, reading the Bible, worshiping in the house, they see me pray. Don't like them when they do, but our house is a bit small. So they're gonna bump into me sometimes praying. That is what I want to show to them. See me go to church. See me open the door for my wife.
Yeah.
See me love the things rather than just teaching them the whole time. So that is what I hope they catch.
Sure. Thank you so very much, Jaco and John, for sharing your hopes. We started with stats that can be a bit gloomy, but it's great to end off hopeful. And I think from my side, we have Father's Day and Youth Day coming up, and my message would be to the youngsters out there, you are enough. And take everything on knowing that you don't need to be more, you don't need to be more beautiful, you're enough as you are. And to the fathers out there, we salute you, those that are present, those that are doing the things, those that are fathering, we salute you and we love you. And to those that need to take up the baton, stand up. Now is your call, now is your time, stand up and do it.
From my side, I just want to say to the youth, dream as big as you can and know that there's always someone out there that will hold your hand. And to the fathers, I want to say I hope you have a fantastic Father's Day and that it is less about the presents and that it is more about your presence. Hope to see you again soon.